In life, we all encounter giants, challenges that seem towering, intimidating, and almost impossible to overcome. For some, these giants appear as fears, anxieties, or doubts that whisper of inadequacy and failure. For others, they take the form of financial struggles, health crises, or personal setbacks that seem too vast to handle alone. No matter what shape they take, giants are powerful forces that threaten to overshadow our hope and faith, pushing us toward feelings of defeat. But what if, instead of being overpowered by our giants, we could learn how to face them boldly and overcome them with the same courage that David, a young shepherd boy, showed when he stood before Goliath? The story of David and Goliath, found in 1 Samuel 17, has captivated and inspired millions for centuries because it is much more than a tale of courage and strength. It's a profound reminder that faith in God can transform even the most daunting situations into victories. David's bravery wasn't about ignoring fear or pretending that his enemy wasn't formidable, it was about acknowledging that his God was greater. In David, we see a young man with no armor, no military experience, and no outward strength against a heavily armed giant, and yet, with a simple sling and a few stones, he brought down Goliath with one well-placed throw. His victory stands as a testament to what God can do when we trust Him completely, no matter how impossible our battles appear. So, as we journey together through this story, let's look beyond the familiar tale to uncover the profound lessons it offers. We'll explore the courage it takes to face life's giants and the faith needed to trust in God's strength over our own. Before we dive deeper, though, I invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Subscribing helps us continue to share these Bible-centered messages, and it ensures you won't miss the next powerful lesson we'll share together. Now, as we examine each part of David's journey to victory, let's set aside our worries and imagine ourselves standing in David's shoes, learning step by step how to trust God to guide us, protect us, and give us the strength we need to conquer our fears. By the end of this message, my prayer is that you'll feel empowered to face your giants with the same faith and confidence that David had, ready to walk forward in victory. And when this script ends, let it leave you not only with a renewed courage for today, but with a sense of anticipation for what's next, another step on our journey of faith, where we'll continue learning, growing, and trusting together. Let's begin by setting the scene in 1 Samuel 17, where the Israelites and Philistines are lined up for battle in the valley of Elah. It's here that we meet Goliath, the Philistine giant. Every day, Goliath taunted the Israelites, instilling fear and reminding them of their weaknesses. His size, armor, and weaponry made him a terrifying opponent, and no one, not even King Saul, dared to face him. This setting represents how giants can appear in our lives, intimidating, impossible to overcome, and challenging our courage. In such moments, we feel vulnerable, and fear can easily overshadow faith. But David saw things differently. David was not a warrior, he was a shepherd. His job was to care for sheep, not to engage in battles. But when he heard Goliath mocking the armies of the living God, something stirred within him. Unlike everyone else, David focused on God's strength rather than Goliath's size. He declared in 1 Samuel 17 verse 26, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" David's words reveal a heart that trusted completely in God's power and refused to let fear take root. Here, we learn our first lesson: our perception shapes our response. When we focus on God's greatness, our giants become smaller, and we find courage rising within us. David's confidence came from his past experiences. As a shepherd, he had faced lions and bears and had seen God's protection firsthand. In 1 Samuel 17 verse 37, David recalls, "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." David's faith was rooted in a history of God's faithfulness. Each past victory strengthened his confidence in God. Similarly, when we face giants, we can draw strength from our own experiences of God's provision and care. Remembering how He has been faithful in the past helps us trust Him in the present and prepares us for future battles. David's greatest obstacle wasn't only Goliath. Before he faced the giant, he had to overcome the doubts of those around him. His oldest brother questioned his intentions, and King Saul doubted his ability. But David didn't allow these voices to discourage him. He knew God's call and was determined to follow it. Sometimes, the giants we face include the discouragement and skepticism of others. When people doubt us or question our faith, it's easy to feel insecure. But like David, we must listen to God's voice above all others and hold on to his promises. When David finally approached Goliath, he didn't wear the heavy armor King Saul offered. Instead, he chose to go as he was, with only a sling and 5 stones. By relying solely on God, David teaches us that we don't need to equip ourselves with the world's tools. In 1 Samuel 17 verses 45 to 47, David boldly declared, "You come to me with a sword and spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts." This powerful statement reminds us that our strength is in God alone. Victory doesn't come through our abilities or resources, it comes through humble faith. As David faced Goliath, he took a stone, placed it in his sling, and struck the giant, bringing him down with one shot. David didn't have a sword or shield, he used what he had in his hand. God often calls us to face challenges with what we already possess. Our faith, trust, and God-given talents are enough when we place them in his hands. In facing your giants, don't focus on what you lack. Trust that God has equipped you with what you need for victory. David's story teaches us powerful lessons for facing our giants today. To summarize, here are 4 key steps. Shift your focus to God. Like David, remember that God is greater than any challenge. Remember God's faithfulness, reflect on how he has helped you in the past. Use what you have, trust in the tools and abilities God has already given you. Step forward in faith, take that first step, trusting God to lead the way. As we wrap up, remember that every giant can be faced and overcome when we walk with God. David's story inspires us to face life's challenges with faith, courage, and trust in God's strength. I hope this message empowers you to confront whatever giants may come your way, armed with the assurance that God is with you. In our next session, we'll continue this journey of faith, exploring how we can grow even further in trusting God and standing firm in the face of adversity. Until then, may you find peace and strength in God's presence, ready to take on whatever comes next with unwavering faith.